So people are up in arms about physical discs being taken away, and there's a lot of facets as to why discs are dying. It's a market trend. People don't buy Blu-rays or DVDs anymore, but instead watch all their movies from streaming. Home theater enthusiasts are the small niche that want the full quality. Do you remember DivX? Not the video technology, but DVD alternative from Circuit City. That was a disc that you could buy, a physical disc. You owned it, and you could watch anytime. You owned it forever, but it phoned home every time you wanted to play it, and it would charge you. It had a modem in it. That basically bankrupted Circuit City. If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't theft. According to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, piracy is really more of copyright infringement than stealing. And people have been talking about this for years about, Napster and copyrighted music, and, it was a criminal act. And so the whole thing about the disc sharing thing and Microsoft's disc to digital, the use case was convert it to digital and then give it to your friend or seller or whatever. And people are like, that's piracy. I agree. According to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, making a copy isn't piracy, it's a copyright infringement, which isn't criminal. A copyright infringement is not criminal. You're not going to go to jail for a copyright infringement. The scary teeth out of using a ROM from 20 years ago, it isn't the scary thing like people are saying like it was. It's like you're going to go to jail. You wouldn't download a car, would you? Oh, that's a stupid comparison. That commercial was silly. According to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, you don't own the content on the physical discs, but you do own the discs. Companies have seen it this way. For them, it's been black and white for years. They own the content, you might own the discs, but there's no way for them to enforce going in and taking your discs away from you. But because you have a license to the content that they can revoke at any time, that doesn't mean that you can just play the disc, and broadcast it over the internet or show it to a bar. Like even the NFL they protect their IP ferociously. You can't just play an NFL game without their consent. If you own a DVD, you have a license to it. You own the physical disc, but that doesn't mean you can make money from it or broadcast it in a bar full of 200 people or whatever. They just have no way to enforce if you're playing a movie with a room more than 5 people in it. It's like, oh, you have to pay us money because you're broadcasting it to more than one person. Regardless of digital ownership of what you own or don't own, the fact that an inserted disc has to phone home first should terrify everyone. That's just like the Circuit City thing with DivX, which eventually sank them. And this is a different time. Now everything spies on you, including your smart TV. Your smart TV, people are saying, well, why are smart TVs so cheap? TVs are cheaper than they've ever been, really. Because people are making money off of you. Just like Facebook makes money off of you because you're the product, your smart TV makes money from you by taking screenshots of what you watch. They're collecting data from you. They know what you watch, where you're watching it from, what streaming services you use, your habits, when you watch stuff, when you pause. If you plug in a game console, it knows what that game console is and what you're playing because it takes screenshots and phones home. The content is intellectual property. And that's one reason why Nintendo is so litigious. Because they learned that if they let any small infraction slide, then that paves the way for people to use it and eventually abuse your intellectual property. Nintendo was sued by Universal a long time ago because of Donkey Kong, because their similarities with King Kong. But Universal lost because they didn't use their IP for so long, so it kind of became considered public domain or fair use. The lesson learned from Nintendo is they're never going to let that happen to them. Even though they benefited from that, they're not going to let other people do that to them. And so that's why they defend their copyright and their IPs. So even if you own something like a cartridge or a disc, technically you own nothing, even if you possess the physical disc. There's no way that anyone would tolerate these companies coming into your house and taking discs away from you. But that's kind of what's happening when you have digital only. What if there was a world where players were all internet connected, or the device in your house could tell what you were watching and that you were watching it from a disc? They could deny the license to watch it or fine you. So if you're just like with digital only, they can revoke the license at any time. We lost our licensing agreement. You can't play this game anymore. Well, with physical discs, what if you had a disc player hooked up to your smart TV, and since it's spying on you and they could tell that you're watching a movie, the license expired, they could tell your TV to turn off or not play that disc or disable the input. It's possible now. It sounds Orwellian, but the technology exists right now. They could do it. Every smart TV has the ability to take screenshots and phone home. So I say if you have a smart TV, don't connect it to the internet. I have a LG monitor and I do not connect it up to the internet, so it can't phone home. They have streaming apps on here to coerce you to connect to the. So it's the Trojan horse. Hey, look, we have some apps. You can watch Netflix on your monitor that you do work from. Hooray! That's the Trojan horse. What a great feature ad. I'm going to connect us to the internet. And then they spy on you. Most people aren't using smart TVs to connect their Xbox or Blu-ray player to it. They're using it to stream media. And because it's connected to the internet, there's probably some things you could do if you're a rights advocate where you can set up your own firewall and you don't let certain traffic through from your smart TV. But honestly, once you hook up your smart TV, it's all or nothing. Right now, your smart TVs are researching marketing trends, and this can also be used against you. And this isn't a conspiracy. This is reality, and this is happening right now. They've said that the Amazon Echo devices don't record you when not prompted. However, a recording was used to solve a homicide case because it recorded you and it sent it home. Amazon had it somewhere and it was used to solve a case. It's a privacy thing. How did that evidence exist if it wasn't always listening? Have you ever gotten ads that mention something that you didn't search for, but you just kind of mentioned in conversation? Your phone's listening. People have proved this. This isn't conspiracy talk. I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat. This is just reality. Sharing games and sharing digital games, there's a thing about a Steam family plan, and there was one commenter that, because I was talking about that you could use, if you bought a Steam machine, then you could play with your kids, and they were saying, oh, well, I have to buy 2 copies of the game. I can't just use one. Oh, with the Xbox, I can play 2 copies of the game at the same time. I log into one and I set the other one as a home console, and so me and my daughter can play the game at the same time without me having to buy 2 copies of it. But with Steam Family Plan, most newer titles are not on the Steam Family Plan. If I play it, my daughter doesn't have access to it at all. She would have to buy it. It's not part of the plan. If I get it in the family plan, then she doesn't have access to it. She has to buy her own separate copy. And if we want to play games that are on the Steam family plan together, we still have to have 2 copies. So if you're done with a game or just don't like it, in the past, you could just give that disc to someone else or sell it. But with a new system, you lose your rights as a consumer. But that kind of ruins the third-party market, which is what the companies want. They want to ruin the third-party market because they don't make another dime after the game is sold twice. You get some of your money back, but they don't get. Whether it's physical disc or a digital copy, you have to phone home to play it is the problem, not ending physical disc support. So, and that goes into, can you make a backup copy? There was an article I did earlier about disk rot. Your games will die. Even pressed discs are going to die. Can you make a backup copy of them? If you have the physical disc and you make a backup copy on your hard drive and you play it through an emulator because you know the disc is going to die at some point, but then the disc does die, you don't own the physical copy anymore, do you still have the rights? Even though you bought it and you threw the disc away because it was destroyed, is anyone going to ask you to prove that you have rights to it? These are some of the things. People are turning to emulators. With PlayStation announcing that they're going to be ending physical disc support, people are saying, well, we're going to do that. Has increased interest in PlayStation 5 emulators, because then people want to be able to play their PlayStation 5 games if they're not going to make them available. How do you prove that you have rights to play the game that you bought, you paid, or to say, paid money for? I think people are getting caught up on, I bought this. You have something physical you can show for it. It's like, I bought this, I have a physical thing. So I paid money for this is a different legal issue. You paid for a license. Do you own it forever? Is the license revocable? Distills down to, can you make a backup copy of something that you paid money for if they take it away? If you buy something from the Amazon store and then make a backup copy of it, and then they take it away, since you made a copy of it, you can still play it. It's not phoning home. But if they had a way to enforce that you still had to phone home even with a backup copy, how does that work? This also encourages non-optimization and good enough development, because if there's no physical copies, they don't have to optimize, they can always patch it later. When you have a physical disc that doesn't phone home, that doesn't require updates, then it has to be final, it has to be the final product. There were DVDs that were region locked. So if you bought a disc from Japan, put it in an American player, then it wouldn't play. But with digital games, there are now region locking accounts. So if you buy a digital game and you're in a different market or a different console, then you may not be able to play the game that you bought. That allows them full control and opens the door for this kind of thing. Granted, physical discs also have region locking, but when you buy a digital game, it can be region locked. They can put control on it because they're always phoning home, and they can change the deal at any time. So how can you actually have a DRM free copy that doesn't check on the server every time you run it? Well, that's where Good Old Games comes in. They actually let you have an internetless copy. You can buy games on GOG. If it's DOS, a lot of things about GOG is there's a lot of DOS games. And that's where DOSBox emulation comes in. It's like, sure, you could buy something from Good Old Games, but there's some things that don't exist anymore, that you can't buy anymore. But that's where Exodus comes in, ExoDOS. Every DOS game ever made is on here. Fallout from 1990. You can play it, DRM free. Part of the thing about Exodus is it also gives you options with hardware that you didn't have, like an MT32 MIDI device. So here's the Legend of Carandia, book 1. And when I'm just going to launch it, and when it installed, it's like, do you want to play using DOSBox or ScumVM? It gives you options. I'm going to say, play with DOSBox. Do you want it with a Sound Blaster or MT32? MT32 for sure. And it's a way better experience. So not only is it all the DOS games, but it's with the hardware that you wish you had when you were a kid. I'm just going to play because of YouTube's real funny about music. So I'm just going to close this out. So that's the thing. If you really want to do video game preservation, but that's the thing. Maybe you had the Legend of Carandia when you were a kid, and so you can say, "Oh, well, I own the rights to it. I bought it a long time ago." You know, no one's going to be enforcing these things. But where there's a case to be made is if there's a game that's on Exodus, but they could make the case. Good Old Games could make the case that you're taking money away from them because you're playing a game that they're selling, even though this is the original copy from the 80s or 1990. So that's one thing that Nintendo says is, like, if you're not going to be making it available, there was actually a article about once companies made things available, piracy of that thing went down. So make it available. But the entire back catalog of Nintendo NES stuff isn't available on virtual consoles or on the Switch or whatever. But people can, who are collectors, have every Nintendo game or every Atari 2600 game, but they're not making them available. But now with the Atari VCS and all this. People can. There's money to be made by introducing some old games and stuff like that. But I owned it in the 80s. I can play it now. Well, do you still have the physical copy? I bought it. The whole thing about digital rights. You can get a lot of these games from the Internet Archive. They're in the public domain. Yeah, if it's not on GOG or it's going to be on Exodus, you can get it from the Internet Archive. So if you're a Retro DOS fan, I would check this out. Hey, if you like this, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm not just a pretty face. I have lots of other stuff about the video game industry and tips and tricks about your hardware too. Thanks for watching, and I hope you're having fun.